As West Virginia gets ready to take on the Baylor Bears in Week 14 of the college football season, Coach Neal Brown has a very, very important decision to make. Who starts at quarterback in this game? Do you go with Nicco Marchiol, who has started the last two games and has played good in one and not so good in the other? Or do you go with the veteran and season starter in Garrett Greene, who has also had his ups and downs this year? In this episode, which is brought to you by BetUS Online Sportsbook and Cats, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, we're going to talk about just that, and we're going to do it right after this word from one of those sponsors.
Since 1931, the attorneys at Cats, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Cats, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com.
What is up? Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Come in, make yourself comfortable, belly yourself up to the bar, and let me pour you out this shot of top shelf college football news and analysis. On tap in this episode, we're talking about West Virginia and the potential quarterback controversy that could be taking place in Morgantown. Now, in his press conference this week, Neal Brown basically said, I'm not answering any questions about the quarterback. So Mike, meaning Mike Ostie, he jokingly said, don't ask. Now, he did admit at the end of the press conference that one of the reasons he's not going to talk about it is because he doesn't want to give their opponent, Baylor, any idea who's it going to be. He wants to make them prepare for both guys. And there's a case to be made for both of these quarterbacks to start in this game, and I'm going to make the case for both guys. And then I'm going to tell you in the third part of the video which one he should pick. So let's go ahead and start off with the pros of starting Nicco Marchiol. Number one, Nicco is 3-0 as a starter at West Virginia. He started, you could technically say he's 4-0. Last year, he started and won the Texas Tech game. This year, he has started and won games over Arizona and Cincinnati. He came in last year in the second series against Pitt and won the game. Now, Garrett was officially the starter in that game, but Nicco pretty much played the entire game with the exception of one series. So you could say that Nicco's 4-0 as a starter, right? There's that. Then there's the part about Nicco being the future of the program. You could say if all things are equal, if Neal Brown feels like he has an equal chance of winning with both guys, then maybe you go with Nicco to help him get ready for the future, especially if Neal is confident he's going to be back next season. Then you go with Nicco, get ready for the future. Then there's the on-the-field piece, the actual game performance piece of this. Nicco seems, at least in his shorter sample size, to make less mistakes with the football. He seems to put the football in harm's way less often. He doesn't take as many chances. Where Garrett Greene is more of a risk taker and will try to fit the ball in the windows he can't fit them in, and those types of things. And he is more prone, in my opinion, at least he has shown this year anyway, that he's more prone to throw interceptions. Then you've got the fact that Nicco just looks like a better natural quarterback back there. He looks more comfortable in the pocket. Looks like he has better pocket awareness. Looks like he goes through his progressions a little better. Whereas Garrett at times has a tendency to see one read. If it ain't there, he'll tuck it and run. So you got that part about Nicco that might be a positive. So maybe for those pro Nicco people, that are the things that they might look at and say, this is a reason you start Nicco Marchiol. He didn't play as well against Cincinnati, but he played really well against Arizona. And he's 3-0. You could say 4-0 as a starter, right? Despite some ups and downs. Then you've got the other side of the coin. You've got the Garrett Greene side, the Garrett Greene supporters who say, hey, Garrett should be the guy. He's the quarterback. And here are the arguments to be made for him. Number one, he's the senior leader of the football team. He's a captain. It's maybe better off as far as locker room chemistry and the mood of the team if you start Garrett. Now this is all assuming Garrett is cleared to play, which, oh, by the way, based on some information I received from one of my subscribers, Garrett has said he will be back next week. Now, coming back, does that mean he wins the job? We don't know. How back is he? Is he fully 100% full go? Does he have some rust still yet and they don't feel comfortable putting him in there? We don't know. Does Neal feel more comfortable with Nicco? We don't know. Him being back doesn't necessarily mean he'll be the starter. But my source did tell me that Garrett will be back and will be ready to play. Now, the other argument for Garrett, and the second argument would be he has a lot more experience. He's been in the game when the bullets are flying. He's been in the fire. He's been in tough games. He's been in pressure situations. And West Virginia, it still has a shot at playing for the Big 12 championship. So do you want to go with the guy with the most experience, who has been in the fire, who you have seen respond in these pressure situations? Maybe you want to go with that guy, the older guy, the more veteran guy. The third argument for Garrett Greene, he's much more dynamic in the run game. Even when Garrett's not having his best day throwing the ball, you can rely on his legs to get you out of some jams. Even in the Kansas State game in the first half before he went out with an injury, he threw 2 picks in that game. A fan base was ready to get rid of him. They were ready to put him on the bench. But then, lo and behold, 2 drives in a row, he drives the team down the field with his legs. Nicco can run the ball. Not saying he can't, but he's not as dynamic as Garrett. And I don't think teams are going to be scared of Nicco as a runner like they will Garrett. They may not necessarily game plan to try to stop Nicco as a runner, where Garrett, they will. It helps your run game with C.J. Donaldson and Jaheim White when you have Garrett who can run the ball too, especially in that RPO game when you don't know who's getting the ball. Will Garrett take off with it? Will he give it to Jaheim or C.J.? Will he throw it? What's he going to do with it? It keeps the defense more honest in that regard, in my opinion. So, what is the move? What is the move I would make if I were Neal Brown in this situation right now? I'm going to tell you that in a minute, but first, I want to talk about my other sponsor, BetUS Online Sportsbook and Casino. Right now, if you want to make a deposit over there, if you're looking for a new sports book, you can go make a deposit at BetUS. Your first deposit, you get 50% sign-up bonus with promo code YouTube150. Again, promo code YouTube150. You get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits, up to $2,000. Make sure if you play that you play responsibly, and you must be 18 years of age or older to gamble. Now, who would I play? If I were Neal Brown, who would I put in the game? I would play Garrett Greene. Now this is assuming Garrett's fully healthy, he's good to go. If Garrett is fully healthy and can take the hits, then Garrett should be the guy, in my opinion. We've seen the offense play at its best when Garrett is in the game. We saw the Oklahoma State game. We've seen what he did to bring them back against Kansas. We've seen in past games what he's able to do. Last year against Baylor was one of the best games he's ever played at West Virginia. Maybe that's something that Neal Brown takes into consideration. I think the experience factor comes into play. Now, if there wasn't much to play for and there wasn't a Big 12 title on the line here or shot at a Big 12 title on the line or even bowl eligibility, heck, West Virginia has not even sealed bowl eligibility yet. There's still stuff to play for. Maybe then you start looking more to the future and putting Nicco in there as your guy. But you still have a lot to play for. And if with what Garrett can do in the run game, to me, I think that gives them a lot better option. Now, had Nicco played really well against Cincinnati this past week, I think it would have erased all doubts for me that he's the guy, but he didn't. He didn't play that well. He was off on his throws. His mechanics were off. Neal even talked about that in his press conference. Speaking of Nicco's mechanics. So there's been a lot of up and down with Nicco. Again, there's also been up and down with Garrett, but if all things being equal, you go with the veteran who's more dynamic in the run game. That's just my opinion. I love both of these guys. I think West Virginia can win with both guys. But again, all things being equal, you go with the veteran, you go with the senior, you go with the guy who's been your starter all year, you go with the one who's been in there when the bullets are flying, you go with the guy who can make absolutely explosive plays in the run game, Garrett Greene. Now, if Garrett's not healthy, if he's not able to take the hits you need him to make, that he can be his full self, then maybe he's not the guy. Maybe you do play Nicco. if there's any doubt there. Because Garrett, without being able to take hits, is not really Garrett. And also, if you do start Garrett and he doesn't look good, because you do have so much to play for, you should probably have a quick trigger with him a little bit and a short leash. Not against him, but for the benefit of the team, you may need to have a quick trigger if he's not playing well. Now, I'm not saying you pull him after one series because, like I said, he may have a little bit of rust to shake off. But if you get 2, 3, 4 series in and he's not the guy, he's not playing well, then maybe you put Nicco back in the game. Nicco's been in that situation before. I think he could do okay with it. What are your thoughts? Who do you think should be the guy going into the Baylor game for Neal Brown? If you were the coach, with all things being equal, Garrett's fully healthy, he's full go, what would you do? Let me know in the comments section. Shout out to my VIP channel members of this episode: Brad Cheney, Jeremy Croy, P.W. Riggs, Vernon Sheldon Witter, and Roy Harrison. Thank you all for your continued support of the channel. If you want to be a VIP member, there's a join button below or on my homepage. Click it. Take advantage of the perks. Also want to shout out On It Athlete Trading Cards. I'm an affiliate sponsor. Go to the On It Athlete site, On It Athlete link in my description box. Buy yourself some West Virginia On It Athlete trading cards. The players will get 60% of the profits through NIL. I'll make a small commission. You get yourself some cool cards. And if you're not a West Virginia fan, there are other teams to choose from as well. You can also go to Couz'sCorner.com/shop. There's a link there as well. You can click for the On It site. There's also other shopping links at Couz'sCorner.com/shop. With that being said, I appreciate you tuning into this episode. Check this one right here out in the corner of your screen. You may like it too. I hope the rest of your day or night is top shelf. And as always, Q Country Roads.